Welcome to Spirit's Journey, coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. Your hosts are Patrick and Kathryn Andries.
Join us each week as we explore a wide range of metaphysical topics such as dreams, astrology, intuitive readings, and life purpose. You'll receive practical guidance so that you can live your most awesome life.
Learn more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com and connect with us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio. Welcome to Spirit's Journey. We are coming to you on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. You can also find us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. We're here in the Heartland holding the energy for spiritual truth and awareness. I'm Patrick.
Hello, it's Kathryn here, everybody, and I can't believe that we're almost in spring. It's like this time has gone by so quick. So anyway, if you listeners have been following us, you know what that means. Every time we have a change of seasons, we bring in the expert on seasonal foods, feng shui, and so much more. So we want to welcome Teresa Padilla back to the show. Welcome, Teresa.
Hi, wonderful to be here again.
Hey, Teresa, glad to have you back.
Hey.
I'm glad to usher in spring instead of winter, I have to say, Teresa. I'm glad we're going to be talking about the light at the end of the tunnel. The cold's going to be over.
Yeah, we're always ready for it, aren't we?
I know, and I've really come to appreciate the change of seasons, especially learning the things from you so that the transition has become much easier for me. It's always easier to go cold to warm than warm to cold, you know. But anyway, there's a lot going on out in the world. Obviously, the coronavirus, you know, people are freaking out about that. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's just start in on spring. What does it mean? How do we transition?
Well, let's start off with an English term, gun-ho, right? And that is kind of funny because when I did my research on that, it actually comes from a Chinese term of gun-ho, which means liver fire. And that's what a lot of people think when it's the first day of spring. If they want to go out there on that nice day and they want to do all these activities that they haven't done before. Let's clean the whole house. Let's plan some trips. It just gets you revved up and that's spring. You want to spring up. So that is in essence what's happening is that the chi is rising up and moving out, and that's what spring really is. So we have the energy in Chinese philosophy and traditional Chinese medicine is you're working with the liver and gallbladder systems. They are prime and they are active and full functioning and full force. And the color is green, so thus we see tiny green buds and green shoots coming out everywhere, things blossoming out, and the rising energy coming forth. And the taste is that of sour. As young shoots, a lot of the taste is kind of sour a little bit, like wheatgrass.
Oh, yeah, lovely wheatgrass. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I'm okay drinking the little shots. I can do that.
Yeah.
And what would be some other sour foods in case people would sauerkraut?
Yeah, sauerkraut. The main, when you have so much prevalent energy already that is supported in spring, then you need a little bit of sour, not a lot. You do want what also do we have in spring? We have wind. We have, it's starting to clear out the pathways of nature, of our body, our energy, our blood, cleaning all that stuff out. So you have the bellows of Mother Nature, and that's the wind. And so pungent foods help protect you from the wind. There's a lot of herbs like, fennel, chives, dill, cardamom, ginger is a good one. Ginger with honey, a lot of teas, that you can use that really help. I found this really great dandelion. It's made by traditional medicinals, and I love it. It's dandelion root, and it's a chai tea mix. So it's got those different spices with it. And they also have a peppermint, which also helps with the smooth transition of the liver chi that's rising, because a lot of us have a tendency to just raise that energy, rise up and out through the roof. But what we're wanting to do in spring is nurture that tender yang that's rising up. It's like baby chi. And we want to nurture it, not like blow it out of the water and burn it down, before it even gets up.
Yeah, I think some people getting out of cabin fever, being shut inside, they just, get out there. But I had an interesting thing. A couple weeks ago, it got really warm. And I said to myself, even though it felt nice to be out in the little sun, just inwardly, I was like, I'm not ready for spring yet. It was really funny. Like, I felt like I still need some more kind of inner quiet winter time. So, and luckily it wasn't spring yet. But what would you say to people who are like, I'm not ready for spring, or people who feel like they're ready for spring in February, like they're not in sync with the seasons?
Yeah, always go to the core. Mother Nature, the earth element is kind of like the core. And the neutral foods, neutral feng shui cures, bringing in the earth element in your homes, in your space, is always good to kind of balance. It always balances things out. So neutral foods would be like carrots, any root vegetables are mostly neutral foods. Apples, the apple a day keeps the doctor away is very true, because it is a balancer for your body. It's round in shape, so it reflects the earth element as well. And that's what I would recommend. Yeah, the main thing with that. And calm activity, nothing too excessive. Trust yourself, meditation and some gentle exercise, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, some gentle stretches. Your the body parts that are associated with spring are tendons, eyes, your liver, gallbladder, all those functions, blood. So your the chi movement. So you're nurturing and building and kind of toning and honing those parts of the body and meridian and energy systems.
Cool. And so, since those are the meridians, would it be beneficial for somebody if they wanted to get acupuncture to specifically say, I want to work on certain meridians?
Oh, yeah. I'm a firm believer in acupuncture. Acupuncture, time for massages, time for some body, mind, energy work, all of those things is good too. Because those are going to help clear and cleanse the pathways and help us move in to keeping the energy wide open. Part of the reason why you probably felt not quite ready for spring is because our pores open in spring. And you can feel cold, much more, you're more sensitive to the first part of the cold, when spring comes, because your pores are open. Where before they're not open. So if cold comes, the pores aren't open, so you don't feel it like you do in the first part of spring.
Oh, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
Body just knows what to do.
Yeah.
Animal bodies know what to do. I'm starting to see more squirrels out, some more birds noticing them. Nature just knows what to do. People not always, but.
So when you say that the eyes are related to the energies of spring, is this a time where people might have some difficulties with different parts of the body related to spring, like the eyes, for example?
Definitely eye problems will show fogginess in the eyes, unclear eyes. So bilberry I love. Bilberry is, and any kind of berries, of course, nurture the eyes. Bilberries, they used in the wartime for pilots to help them with their eyesight. So there is a lot of herbs that you can just get straight bilberry, which I take right now every day. Kelp, helps as well, nurture the eyes. Leafy green vegetables cooked, because once again, it's spring, it's not summer. There's still cool days and cool nights and cool weather, and you want to have some warm foods. It's not quite time for raw foods. Raw foods are good when you're in a tropical environment. You live in a tropical environment, then a raw food diet is wonderful. When you live in an environment that's not tropical, then it's very hard to digest raw vegetables, and raw fruits.
Well, I think that's one of the downfalls of breakfast in America is that for a lot of people, it's cold cereal.
Yeah.
And I feel so different when I have a warm meal in the morning.
Oh, me too. I have, oatmeal. Me. I like the oatmeal and the warm porridges. Millet is wonderful in spring. And, what is wonderful right now that there are so many different plentiful variety of grains because of, the gluten-free and vegan and stuff like that. I think that has brought that out in the health foods. But there are so much good, healthy grains that you can have. Oats and millet are really good to use. Rice helps clear pathways, helps clear your eyes, help clear the toxins, get your body ready, your energy ready for spring.
Now, is that because the rice absorbs?
It has an absorbing quality, but it's mainly moving. It's a moving quality. So there are different kinds of rice. In spring, you want more medium and long grain rice because the longer the rice, the more that it moves and clears the water and clears the dampness out of the body. And the shorter grains help to absorb and store.
Oh, cool. Okay, so medium to long grain. My preference is short grain, but I'll try to go with the medium.
Yeah.
I'll compromise. I won't go with the long grain quite yet.
Yeah.
And what about, so one of my favorite foods is these purple potatoes that we've been getting more and more abundantly here. What about those? Are those good for spring?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I make this tricolored purple potato salad.
Oh.
It's awesome. And you can make it a little bit warm if you want in spring, but just, potatoes are good. They nourish the spleen. You want to nourish the spleen in spring. Nourish the spleen in spring. You can remember that one, right? And so a little sweetness, potatoes, root vegetables, all those help with the spleen. And because that is what's going to strengthen the liver and nourish the spleen as well. So a tricolored potato salad where you do rose potatoes and gold potatoes, and I do the babies, the creamers, and then you take some chives, and I use tofutti sour cream in it, which is made out of tofu rather than dairy, and as the base in it. And I use a little bit of Dijon mustard, but not very much, and a little bit of dill. You can cut up like dill pickles and sweet pickles, bread and butter pickles or whatever, which pickles are real good in spring as well. Chives in there and some spring onions are in there, spring green onions. And then you want to cook the potatoes, cook the purple potatoes separate from the rose and the gold potatoes, because the purple potatoes will make everything turn purple. I mean, everything. So it's all purple dish, which is great if you don't mind that. But if you want to keep the aesthetic value of the beauty of the potato salad, then cook them separate, and then add, once the potatoes are cooked and cooled and quartered, however you want them, however you want the texture of your potato salad, then add those at the very end, and mix it up. And I put a little bit of Bragg's apple cider vinegar in there as well. A little bit of sea salt, Himalayan pink sea salt, get that in there. The more array of rainbow of colors and textures you can get, the more balanced you're going to have your food.
That sounds absolutely delicious.
It is. It's wonderful. It's good. It's celery. You want celery in there as well.
Celery, yes.
And I cook my celery just a little bit with my spring onions, and put it in there before I add them, or you could just add it at the very end to when your potatoes are cooking as well. and then just drain them all together.
So there you have it, folks. That's the dish you can bring to your next potluck, church event, group setting, dinner party. I know I'm going to be making that. I've got some purple potatoes at home and white potatoes. I have to get the rose or the gold.
Right, we're going to be starting to grill soon, so that's a great,
right,
great dish to bring out to the lake.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, spring's coming, spring break, so people need to get into a bathing suit. Summer's here. What about people who want to lose weight? What kind of advice can you give them?
Well, I mean, the thing that controls your weight mainly is, a lot of people don't realize this, is the actual spleen meridian and spleen energy system, because that controls the waterways in the water reservoir anyway, as far as dampness, and clears that out, balances it out in the body. So because we are on a water planet, we are mostly made out of water. Most of our weight is actually water, and people don't realize that. So, when you are overweight for a period of time, it'll be heat and water is what it'll be, inflammation. So you want to clear, eat some rice, move the water, red date tea that you can get at Chinese food markets or Chinese food stores. They'll have a red date tea or red dates that are dried that you can hydrate and boil and then eat them, or just drink the tea. I like the red date tea myself. The watercress is a really good thing you can add that to potato salad. And by the way, you can add that to tea. You can add that to almost anything that you cook. And that is I would call the king of foods that you can have in spring is watercress. It has it builds the heart, it tonifies the blood, it helps clear toxins, it helps lift the spirits, it helps boost the liver and gallbladder. It's got a lot of different properties that really help with spring. Clears heat from the liver and the gallbladder.
It's not something I typically buy, so I'm going to have to check that out. And that's fascinating because I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about the spleen when they're talking about weight loss issues. It's always, the liver or the adrenals or the thyroid slow, so they're not losing weight. So that is very fascinating for people to maybe work with the spleen and spleen points if they went to acupuncture for weight loss.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is we're kind of balancing out our energies with the yin and yang of consciousness, basically, and you can see that as relevant with the Me Too movement and feminine kind of movements that are rising, is that going from a patriarch now to a matriarch system, but what we're going to is a balance of yin and yang. And so when you have that, a lot of women tend to have anemic problems, and part of the reason why is because of the imbalance in yin and yang. And when you have an imbalance in yin and yang, and you have a system that favors yang over yin, which we have in our modalities, what we have had is we tend to energy. Let's feed the energy, which they don't really talk about the yin, which is the vital essence, the vital fluids, the jing, which is the three treasures that help to build the three harmonies in the energy and the body with your system. And so it's a balance of both of those. And when you favor yang over, and we're talking about the gung-ho, that's favoring yang, going extreme, then what you have is a misunderstanding of yin. And you view yin as being weak, and therefore we viewed women as being weak, and women as far as a physical body being have viewed themselves as weak. And so a lot of times there have been one of the main things that women have been is they've been anemic, which our blood, it's a low, it's a lot of low blood. The spleen's not supported. They don't have, their blood quality is not tonified. So that's another thing right now with spring. It's a good time to learn how to harmonize yin and yang, to not favor yang or yin, and to really balance both of them. Try to be moderate in what you do. Try to be calm. Try to be, patient. Try to extend yourself and be free from judgment, and eat balanced kind of food, and like a balanced diet, like balanced exercise. Learn to love that.
Well, that's fascinating how you're bringing in the cultural attitudes and how that affects the body, because, well, as you know, we've all studied the mind-body connection a lot, all three of us, and I think that's a piece that so many people forget, is whatever cultural norms, thought forms people pick up on. And then, like you were saying, yeah, women have been viewed as weak, or that the feminine, the receptive, is weaker than the masculine, and it's just they're different energies, and you need a balance of the two. So I love that. Do you think that, or have you found that women who are anemic tend to have that belief that they're just weaker in general?
I think that's definitely changing, but yeah, I mean, they definitely have, like my mom, she was not my women in my family were not, they didn't have a culture of being weak, but they did have a culture or mentality of being submissive to the patriarch or to the yang energy. And so they served it. They were subservient. And in that way, there were some things in which they viewed they were weak. They just stepped aside, and didn't learn the financial part of it, or stepped aside, didn't learn how to, take responsibility for their car, or different things like that. It was kind of a subservient attitude.
Right. And now backtracking a minute about the weight loss, Teresa. So you, when you got into doing the food therapy and the elements, you had amazing weight loss story. Do you want to share it?
Yeah, I mean, when how I first started learning all of the benefit of the food and 5-element theory, I first started with feng shui, but then I wanted to learn how to balance my health as well. And so we went to a acupuncturist who also taught us food therapy. And so we started in the season of summer, and I weighed at that time, I think I don't know how much I weighed, honestly, because I never really weighed myself as that was. But I did wear a size 16, if that tells you. And I have I would say I'm tall, medium kind of built, but my frame, I would say, would tend to be from smaller to medium frame. So to wear a size 16 I was well over my weight on that. And then my husband at the time weighed quite a bit as well, was over his weight. So we actually started doing the Qigong movement that was relevant to summer, and just changed our whole diet to eating neutral foods and foods that were supportive with summer. And in 2 months, we both were down to our size that we were when we were 21.
That is amazing. Yeah, no crash diets, none of that. It was just healthy, balanced eating.
Yeah, it was just healthy, and we've kept it. We both have kept it off too. So it's not. It wasn't something that we were looking for. It was kind of a byproduct of what we were studying, what we were living. Yeah.
So I'm sure people are going to be like, I got to talk to Teresa. I have to lose weight. What website can you direct them to, or what information so they can get in touch with you?
5-Element Foodies is one of the Facebook groups that I have that we kind of connect, have recipes. You find out modalities on 5-element theory, basically, and learn about the 5 elements and how that can benefit you in your life. gracedinnature.com is a website that you can go to that will have different things support different things that you're interested in as well. And you can contact me there.
So you had mentioned exercise as well earlier, and so if somebody is doing Tai Chi or yoga, for example, would there be something that you might change for the spring in your exercise routine?
I think the main thing to think about is to have gentle movement in what you're doing. Swimming is a great exercise, and of course, what do we want to do when first nice weather comes? The swimming pool's open. People want to go outside and swim. That's a good exercise. Walking outside is a good exercise. And I am a firm believer in forest bathing, where you go out in the woods and walk in a canopy of trees. That's one of the main things that can really support your lungs. It supports all the organ systems. And if you look at a lot of other cultures, and specifically the Asian culture, they've done forest bathing forever. They just go out and walk. It is a regimen for them to walk.
I thought you were actually going to say to take a bath in the forest.
Well, I always wanted to do that and still want to. You have that, what was that commercial where you have the lady in the bathtub in the woods outside?
Oh, yeah.
Who doesn't want to take a bath in the woods? I like that.
All right. Well, we are coming down to the bottom of the hour, and so we are going to be back with more great information for how to eat and exercise in the spring, as well as some other topics coming up. And we're going to be taking a short break now, and you are listening to Spirit's Journey on Truth Frequency Radio, simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. See you on the other side. Back from the break. If you are just joining us, this is Spirit's Journey with Patrick and Kathryn Andries, coming to you live from Truth Frequency Radio and Oneness Talk Radio. And we are here today with Teresa, Padilla, talking about the kinds of foods that we need to be focusing on with the spring energies coming. So welcome back to the second half, Teresa.
So wonderful to be here with you guys. I love it.
Oh, I know.
Look forward to it all the time.
Two Virgos talking about nutrition is awesome. And so we were talking a lot about weight loss before the break. And I know also a lot of people will actually do cleanses to help them lose weight. It's sometimes just a byproduct. So I know spring is a good time for cleansing, Teresa. So do you want to share with us what you know about cleansing for spring?
Yeah, definitely. That's such a good, glad you asked that, because spring is, I believe, the best time, and it would be the only time that I would do a cleanse, is in spring. Because if you think about the harmony of the seasons, when does a season cleanse itself? It's in spring. Like right after winter, what's happening right now, and right around the equinox time of right now is spring. Is that before that we have the pores are open of the earth, and all the muck from or mud and stuff that's been dormant and stored beneath the earth, everything is starting to circulate, start to move. Same thing with our bodies. The liver yang and the yang of the earth is like rain in Mother Nature. And so without it, nothing grows. With the right amount of rain, everything thrives. And with too much rain, things get washed away. So that's the balance that you want to have of thinking in spring with the harmony of the energy. So perfect time to do cleanses. And I have a great cleanse to give.
Oh, that'd be awesome if you want to share it.
Sure,
yeah.
I'd love to give it. This is a cleanse that actually tastes good, okay? So there's a lot of cleanses that they taste good, taste terrible, and people are like, oh my God, I got to do this cleanse again. Well, this actually, you feel good, it tastes good, you look forward to doing it, and it's an easy one, and it works.
I found that helps a lot when it tastes good.
Right.
So it makes the medicine go down easier, right?
Right. So what it is a half a cup of unfiltered apple juice, or hey, let's do some fresh apple juice. We can do some fresh apple juice. That's good. And a half a cup of spring water, 1 teaspoon of olive oil, a dash of cayenne pepper, and a dash of powdered ginger, and a squeeze of a fresh lemon. And put that in a glass first thing in the morning, because remember the energies of spring, they're first thing in the morning when you rise up. So you want to drink this for 6 days, first thing in the morning, and make it fresh. Don't make a bunch and then just drink it every day. You know, that's part of the beauty of harmonizing with the seasons, is to take the time to actually do things that harmonize with the seasons. So take the time. It doesn't take very long, to do it. And then on the 7th day at 11 p.m., you do this for 6 days in a row. On the 7th day, you do it at 11 p.m. in the evening. And what you do is you do the same recipe, but you change the amount of olive oil to 1 tablespoon, not 1 teaspoon. And then you add 1 tablespoon of pure maple syrup, and don't get the other crap of maple syrup. That's not maple syrup. Get the real maple syrup, okay? It's only 1 tablespoon, and you add that, and it is delicious, and you will feel so good. You can do it like for 1 week on, 1 week off, and then do it for another week. 1 week. I recommend doing it at the very first part of spring. Into, we call right before the equinox, the time of the rain in the 24 subseason calendar of traditional Chinese medicine. And the time of the vernal equinox is when, it's called lesser yang. It's that slight yang. So you want it during that time is to do the cleanse. When you get into the latter part of spring, what you're working with is humidity and starting to work with heat. It'll still work, but it works better when you're working with really the cleansing property of spring.
Cool. So
the
that
first half of spring.
Yeah. So y'all can head on over to 5 Element Foodies if you didn't get all that written down. But my next question would be, so when we're doing this cleanse, obviously we can eat when we're doing the cleanse as well. And so what, are we supposed to follow a particular diet in addition to this drink?
Well, I think the foods, I always have throughout the week, eat neutral foods, have those a part of my diet. So apples, root vegetables, cook those, make some soups out of it. Spring's is still a good time. You want to stay warm. It's still kind of cool out, so it's a good time for some light soups. Ramens. It's a good time for some good ramen soup. Good herbal teas with pungent herbs like cardamom, and cooking with fennel, spring greens like that tricolored potato salad with the chives and spring greens, stuff like that. Spring onions. If you are sluggish and you have had, a cold and sluggishness and you just can't get rid of it, and you feel lethargic, then you probably have some liver stagnation. If it rears up at this time, maybe the blood is a little bit stagnant. So watercress, always add watercress because that does help with the stagnancy. The pungent herbs would help as well. And do a good spring chicken noodle soup. Add some red dates to it. Add some angelica. You can get that at the Chinese food market. And add spring, young, good treated chickens, okay? Organic, good, healthy, young chickens, spring chicken, just a little bit. Make good with some good noodles and good broths and some carrots, add some celery to it, add some onions to it, add a little bit of chives to it, some red dates, and that really what it does is it lifts the spirits and it helps move the stagnation.
I always get hungry when we have Teresa on. She just talks about too many good things. So I know in a lot of people's minds, their radar is going up when you're talking about, these products from China because, we got the coronavirus. And I even heard this funny joke the other day. At least I think it was a joke when somebody had bubble wrap and they said, don't pop it, the air and it's from China. But anyway, seriously. So what would you say to people who are afraid of this coronavirus?
I learned a long time ago in the study of metaphysics, and you're around. I studied and taught metaphysics for years. I was around a group of people for 20-some years and still have been. You're around people that are interested in health, interested in what's going on with the planet, interested in their immune systems, and so there's all different kinds of modalities of living that you learn about. And I have learned is not to be scared of things so much because you can always balance something out. So we do this is my take on this. I think there's going to be probably more stuff that comes up like this throughout the years coming up because what we have done is create an imbalance in our planet by removing a lot of trees. Right there we have lowered our immune system on the planet, and that has an effect on us as well. We have lowered our immune systems and compromised our immune systems by a lot of pesticides and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't use pesticides. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that things in moderation, things in balance, help build the immune system. Help build the immune system of our planet, help build the energy, meridian, immune system, systems of our thinking, our body, our spirits. And so go back to your basics. Wash your hands with warm water for 20 seconds with soap and warm water. Don't touch your openings. It's the eyes, the ears, the mouth, things that you tell kids not to do, don't do yourself, And I work with somebody that I live and friends with somebody that goes into hospitals all the time. Main thing that he does is wash his hands for 20 seconds at least with hot, soapy water. When he comes in and out, first thing he gets home, he washes his hands. So, and what do doctors do? They wash their hands. So that's one of the main things. Build your immune systems with whatever modality you know how to build your immune systems with. I say neutral foods. I say do things that aren't in extremes, not extreme movement, not extreme emotions. The anger of the emotion the emotion of spring is anger, and so you will see people that have lots of anger stuff coming out in spring because they have excessive liver yang. Okay, so you reduce the heat, you reduce the hot, spicy foods, less meat, and more cooked vegetables, more light spring soups, more light leafy cooked vegetables, green vegetables, and calm emotions. Yeah.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that because when I work with clients a lot in my health coaching practice, there would be many times that if we were working on the liver, I might recommend a liver cleanse for them. And then as they're working on that, these anger emotions would come out. And so a lot of times they just had no idea where this was coming from. They're like, I don't know where this is coming from. I just have all this anger coming up. So we would look at the fact that the liver is a filter. And so when we get angry, the things that make us feel angry, that we recognize when we're angry, your body is releasing all these chemicals into your bloodstream based on your thoughts and your emotions. And so then the liver would cleanse that out. And so if it's holding on to that, so for example, if your body's elimination system can't release it, then it will just hold on to it until such a time as it can. So a lot of times that liver cleanse will release all these emotions that have been pent up. So it's interesting that spring then would have that same effect since you're focusing on the liver. So it's probably as you're nourishing it, then the liver has more energy available to start cleansing and releasing some of these things that have been pent up over the winter. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's a really good, clear picture. Yeah.
And I actually did a liver cleanse once, not the one you talked about, but another one. And I remember I was pissed off all week. I couldn't believe it. I was like, where is this coming from? It was pretty wild. And we all know when we repress, you can't bury the emotions. You can't really stuff anything and hope to get rid of it. It's going to get caught in the body. It's going to cause the blockage. It's going to get into the muscles, all that. And that's where then we will experience pain. So the idea is we definitely want to release, and spring, I think, is a great reminder of that.
And grapes. I'm forgetting about grapes. Grapes are a natural cleanser.
Does it matter if they're green or the purple?
No, I mean, the different colors go to more different parts of the body, but the purple and the black are going to go, they will also go to the kidney function. Green will go to the liver. Red will have a little bit go to the heart function. But grapes in general help support, lift your spirits, help clear toxins. And in fact, I mean, they used to give grapes to heroin addicts to help with, lock them in a room and give grapes to them.
That is fascinating.
To help clear the toxins out.
Wow. Now,
they help also build the vital fluids. When you're having chemicals in your body or dehydrated or whatever, came out of winter, stuff is dry. A lot of us are dehydrated as well. You have cough, some of those are dehydration. Then the grapes they're juicy and they're very, very hydrating.
So my question was, do raisins have a similar effect? Obviously, they're dehydrated, so they're not going to hydrate you, but in terms of
cooking them, yeah.
Beneficial effects, do they have some of those that the grapes have?
Yeah, but it's different because, I mean, I would cook the raisins, but grapes are going to be more of a whole spring food. They're full of the spring essence. Really good. Pears are really good too, with raw honey as well.
Oh, so do you cook them in the raw honey or just?
I cook them. You can add a little bit of astragalus, either in the pill form that's straight, the powdered form, or the bark that you cook it with. But I always add raw honey to it. And that'll help move congestion out of the throat. If you have, congestion in there. If you have a tendency, like you were saying, too cold, like when the pores are opening up and maybe you're too cold, and that'll help warm up and kind of move the energy a little bit. Astragalus is an adaptogen herb, and it helps us adapt in changing environments. Really good and clear toxins as well.
Well, I know I gave up cheese. That was the only dairy thing that I used to eat that I was like, I can't give it up. And so I did an experiment. I think since January I gave it up. And it's amazing how much better I did this winter in terms of never getting congested. I didn't get one cold. And I attribute it a lot to getting rid of the dairy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard one for people.
I know.
Because we're so dependent upon it.
Well, we've been taught it's part of the food pyramid, people. That's where you're going to get your calcium from the milk.
Oh, and I call a lot of our cultural thinking, I would say, is one word. To summarize it, is homogenized. And, we want to do everything the same, and when you get into that, you have no variety, you have no rainbow, you have no, balance. You have no balance.
So if we're homogenized, are we pasteurized too?
Right. I think we are. We're put out to pasture. Well, and I just heard on the radio that they are no longer allowing farmers to sell raw milk. There were a few that could.
So is that even the farms that were in California?
I'm not sure where it was, but yeah.
Wow. So, are there any suggestions that you might offer to someone who is vegan?
Well, a lot of everything that I've said is pretty much vegan. I don't eat a lot of meat. Most of the stuff that I've suggested here has been like fruits and vegetables. So.
Oh, I was just thinking about the chicken in particular. But I guess you could just leave the chicken out if you're vegan.
You don't have to use the chicken. You can just use vegetable broth and have red dates, have angelica root in it, and cook it with that.
I only say that because I'm experimenting with a vegan diet currently because I just had a lot of different research facts and things come to me recently about whole food plant-based diets and the benefit of that. So intuitively, I just felt like that was something my body wanted. So I'm experimenting with that. And so far, I have to say that I feel, pretty normal. I don't feel like I'm, hungry all the time or anything like that. Like some people think that you might experience when you're on a vegetarian diet. But we've been off the dairy for a long time, and so it was really just a matter of cutting out the meat and the eggs and things like that. And so are there any any additional, like, I know sometimes we would talk about different mushrooms and things like that at different times. Anything?
Yeah, I mean,
specialty foods, like you might need to go to a Chinese market for.
Well, as you were talking, shiitake mushrooms are always good. They're not so heavy a mushroom, and they're really good in a lot of the soups. I like the dehydrated shiitake mushrooms, and then you can hydrate them with the actual cooking of the soup. Like put the brown rice ramen noodles in there, and there's nothing better than a good ramen soup in spring with some fresh green onions and chives, and this is just really good.
Now that's a homemade ramen soup, not the packages of ramen that we used to eat in college, right? The notorious college meal, 5 for $1.
You're right. What's funny is I have a grandson and my daughter, and she's so busy, and I would say 3/4 of the people that I come in contact with, they are busy. We're busy people. Let's face it. We like to be active. We like to keep our kids active, and we like to be active as well. And so what gets compromised is your nutrition, your nourishment a lot of times in that, your self-care. And I'm a big advocate for really not having authority outside of yourself or looking to authority outside of yourself. That doesn't mean I don't go to doctors. It doesn't mean I don't go to experts and different things. I do. But I have for a number of years now maintained myself as my inner, building my authority and my inner authority, and having the first and last say, and having nature be my first teacher, really, and following Mother Nature within myself and around me and stuff like that. And I must say that I think one of the first things that we try to do when we hurry is we reach to a package of something, for our nutrition. And that's never going to be the best thing because it's not live, So if you had one thing to think about, to come away with from this, to help with spring and to help just harmonize, is to eat whole food. Eat an apple, eat something that's whole, that's actually live. And raw food, in spring, you want to cook your vegetables a little bit, but still it's a whole food. It's a carrot, or it's you're putting it in there. It's still a live food. And that's what I'm trying to do with my grandson. I'm getting him to love live food. We're listening to the veggie songs, I have him go shopping with me at some health food markets, that actually have whole foods. I'm cooking some of the foods that he picks out. I want that, and he's starting to eat that and starting to love that,
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, we got to start these kids young on the fruits and veggies. Our daughter now, I can make a stir fry and put in all these vegetables that years ago she never would have touched, and now she's like, oh yeah, we'll put that in there. She didn't used to like to eat zucchini, and she saw me picking it out of her. She said, no, put it in there. It's really nice because I know she's getting the variety. And I did want to touch on one point, Teresa, that you talked about that a lot of people might not be familiar with, which is the vital fluids. So what does that mean? How do we keep up the fluids, and why do we even want to?
Yeah, I've been for... you get into where you want to study certain things, like with the Chinese medicine, in the 5-element theory that I've learned. There's different things that I lean to study, that I hone into, and the 3 treasures is one of those studies. That's kind of like the harmony of what we're talking about today. The 3 treasures are Jing, which is, they spell it Jing in the Pinyin or the Chinese language. And it's vital fluids, essence. Your kidneys is what controls that, the main function of that. But it's one of the things that people don't really think about when they're eating a lot. They really don't think about, and it's a yin, it's mainly yin function. They don't really think about building that yin. And it's like when we're talking about we favor yang, it makes sense that we're not really look about the yin and the jing and storing that essence. But kidney foods will help store that. We're talking mushrooms, anything that has, like the grapes, has some kind of vital fluid or juice in it, is going to have jing in it. But you, in mixing your drinks and your foods right there, what that does is it the saliva, which is your natural jing essence, that natural nectar that helps break down the food, and helps harmonize the stomach and the spleen. It helps, there's a lot of functions that the saliva does. And when we drink iced smoothies and iced liquids, and then we drink when we're trying to eat our foods, what it does is the saliva doesn't perform its function for the body. And so right there, what you're doing is you're harming the essence or the vital fluid. So one thing that Chinese medicine and what they think about is that you protect the 3 treasures, and they're going to protect you. They're like the king, queen, and they're like the royal family. They protect you. So when you think about, the 3 treasures are Jing, which governs the vital fluids and the essence of the body. And when you run out of vital fluid, basically you dry up and you die. And then the second one is Qi, which what we're most familiar with is energy or movement that controls the blood as well. And the third thing is your Shen, or your heart, your spirit.
Amazing. So everybody got that. It's like, that's easy to remember, the triad. It seems like so many health things. We had a couple chiropractors on a while ago that talked about the health triad. They had something different.
Yeah.
Amazing, Teresa. Thank you.
All right. Well, as always, thank you so much for coming back to our show, Teresa. It always is very informative and amazing and great things. So you can learn more about what Teresa does on her Facebook group at 5 Element Foodies on Facebook. We love having you with us, so please connect with us on Facebook at Spirits Journey Radio. Be sure to like our page. You can find out more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com. This has been Spirits Journey on Truth Frequency Radio, Oneness Talk Radio. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kathryn. Have an awesome week. We'll catch you next Saturday.
Goodbye for now.